Welcome to World Events in the Bible. I'm Brandon T. Ward. We're going to talk about a video I watched the other day that was put out by the World Economic Forum. It was actually a teleconference. It was titled "The Great Reset." It was really disturbing. If if you're against globalism, if you're against your nation kind of crumbling and going away. So I just took down some notes here, as I watched this video. So basically, these are all just paraphrases. I'll drop a link down below the video here so you can go watch it for yourself if you want to double check what I'm telling you here. You had people like Klaus Schwab. He's the founder of the World Economic Forum, and he basically opens up this conference talking about how the current global order that was founded in the 1940s is it's basically it's old. It's not valid for today's world, and he has a point there. But to go and they use that basically in the video to set the stage for this new world order. Basically, that's the whole idea of a great reset. They had a little trailer on their before that teleconference that showed all these calamities in the world going on, and then someone pushing a reset key on a keyboard. Like they're going to start everything all over. A little bit disturbing here. One of the things they point out is everyone will have a voice. Everyone have a voice. That's impossible. There's 7.7 billion people on the face of the earth. Everyone cannot have a voice. It just won't happen. What it will be is you'll have these groups that are basically globalist type groups or political parties, whatnot, and they will supposedly speak for the people. Well, in our nation, the United States, the political parties today really do not speak for the people. The people are usually against most of the stuff that's going on. So our voice is actually being silenced, which leads me into the next one here, is lawlessness in cyberspace. That was something that they talked about. Well, the only lawlessness that happens in cyberspace, aside from criminal activity, but that's not what they're talking about. They're really talking about like our freedom of speech. And you see now in social media, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, all this stuff, conservative voices are flat out being silenced just for speaking the truth about matters, and is really disturbing. So when you talk about lawlessness in cyberspace, it just means that they're going to stop even more of that free speech. Prince Charles actually went on to talk about the virus from these animals, coronavirus, swine flu, bird flu, all these things that we've had over the years. They originate in animals, and then they cross over to humans, basically. So he uses that to set up this next phrase, and he says, that's why we need to restore a balance with nature. And a lot of these things, I'm paraphrasing, it was really spoken like that. They didn't really elaborate on that so much. So when I heard that, we need to restore balance with nature, immediately my mind goes to the Georgia Guidestones. It's this big monument in Georgia, and they basically have in different languages what I call like the 10 commandments of the globalists, because that's basically what it is. So like what he just said there is item number 1, which says on the Georgia Guidestones, they want to maintain humanity under 500 million people in perpetual balance with nature. So that's where Prince Charles, I'm quite sure, is getting that from. The only problem with that, there's 7.7 billion people on the face of the globe. So that means we need to get rid of a lot of people. Are you volunteering? Because I'm not. Maybe they should volunteer themselves. Something else here, we talked about a reset moment to create a global movement. A global movement and a reset moment. So they're looking at everything that's going on in the world today. The financial catastrophe that is really not 100% realized yet from the coronavirus. And then we have the coronavirus where all the governments have locked down basically. And then we have the riots, which started in the United States, are kind of spreading to other nations. So that is this reset moment. They want to take advantage of this so they can have collective progress. That was another one. Collective progress, that's communism. That's all they're talking about. When you start talking about collective speaking and stuff like that, that has no place for, like, say, the Christian conservative. It's only going to be what works for unity and globalization. And I didn't really want to talk about this, but now that I mentioned the word unity here, it kills me. For generations, we've been talking about unity in our country. Oh, we need to work together and be one and that type of thing. And look, some of that stuff is cool. Some of it has been fine. But when you start bringing in, things that go contrary to God, then it's not cool anymore. When you kick God out, it's not cool. And it always seems like we can have unity as long as God is not involved with it. All right? So that's something you want to remember. When you start talking about collectively, it has nothing to do with God. It's anything that has everything to do against God. And they keep pointing out there's a shrinking opportunity. And we've never had an opportunity like this, and we may never again. So they want to seize the opportunity. And there's an old saying like order out of chaos, or never let a crisis go to waste. We've all heard those lines over the years, and that's what they're talking about here. The IMF, International Monetary Fund, one of the head gals on there, she says, we'll have more poverty unless we act. And that's how the whole show went down. Basically, like, if we don't do something, if we don't throw away the nation state and start this new global order, then the world is going to go to hell in a handbasket. I mean, that's basically what they're talking about. Another one here, I'm trying to see what the name of the person is. It says, we cannot go back or we'll have more pandemics and crises. That was actually Prince Charles, that's who that was. So we can't go back. So once we go forward in this new global order, we can never go back. Like, you're not going to have United States of America or Britain or Australia, whatever nation you live in. We can't go back to that. No, we can't go back to it. And we can't even go back to we've all heard this thing called the new normal with this coronavirus thing. That was the other thing that they're kind of getting at here. We can't go back to our old normal. We have to have a new normal. And I mean, once that coronavirus thing happened, I mean, media outlets all over the face of the globe, I don't care if it's conservative, liberal, whatever it was, they were all saying, oh, there's a new normal. There's a new normal. We have to have a new normal now, Well, the coronavirus, it only kills 0.1% of those infected. And another statistic came out that said 80% of people aren't even susceptible to it. So is it really deadly? Yeah, it's deadly, but is it like what they put out there? I mean, you got locking countries down, people losing their livelihoods and everything, putting us in this situation so then they can do a great reset. I mean, all this isn't by accident. I mean, come on. You'd have to be a dullard to think that that's what's going on here. This is not no accident. All this is planned. The CDC, United States Center for Disease Control, even came out and said coronavirus mortality rate is 0.4%. So all these official studies and reports that are coming out are all far under 1%. And you lock down the whole world and then you say, oh, we got to, restore balance with nature. So we can go on, and we can't go back to how we used to live before. It has to be something else. Get out of here. MasterCard, they had a big wig on there for MasterCard, and he says, we owe it to the next generation. The next generation people, we owe it. And that's always what we're hearing. Like I talked about a minute ago, oh, we need unity. We all got to work together to make it better, make the world a better place. But it's not a better place. I mean, we've been hearing that for 40, 50 years. The world is a crappier place than it's ever been. You talk about, there's not going to be any racism. They create racism. The media does. There will always be racism in this world because there's crappy people in this world. All right? But for the most part, most people are not racist. So all this stuff about white privilege and everything like that, it's a bunch of crap. It's to make you feel guilty about something that you never did, okay? I never had no slaves. My parents never had no slaves, and their parents never had no damn slaves. So I'm really getting sick and tired of hearing that. And you even have a ton of black folks who can think. They're smart people, man. They're trying to divide everybody, and it's really getting on my nerves. But there's a bunch of black folks out there saying the same thing that I'm saying. Look, there is no racism now. They're trying to divide us. It's a big radical push by the leftists, and it is. And it's all leading up to this global order stuff that they want here. You divide the people, and you can conquer the people. That's what Jesus said. I mean, it's like 101 division, all right? If you divide a household, it cannot stand. So if you divide this country, it cannot stand. And how do you divide it? Oh, you freak people out about coronavirus. Oh, you're going to die. Wear a mask. And then you start talking about racism. And then on top of racism, then you get the people that hate the cops. And so now nobody likes the cops. Oh, let's disband law enforcement. Yeah, that would go over well, wouldn't it? Especially because in the Democrat-controlled states and everything, carrying a gun and everything like that, they don't want you to have no firearms, so that means you can't protect yourself. I can't tell you how many times I've seen memes and stuff over the years where they say, oh, you can use a cell phone, call cops, they'll come and show up at your house. You don't need a gun because we have law enforcement. Now they want to get rid of law enforcement. It really makes me sick. Back to this great reset thing here. They call it a new social contract. Oh yeah, it sounds like the Green New Deal, right? That'll benefit us. And then they talk about full employment for all. Full employment for all. Where have you seen that or heard of that before? That's communism, all right? And they talk about new global standards and sharing our wealth. Why all these fat cats, why don't they just share their wealth? Why don't they just give away all their money and they can go live in a hut somewhere? like some other people do, if they feel so bad and they feel like they're so privileged and everything. But see, that's the thing. It's not about that. It's not about no colors. It's not about no privileges. It's about dividing the people so they can get this garbage that I'm telling you about right now. World Economic Forum, the Great Reset. That's what they're talking about. And they said, the one guy from MasterCard even said, we cannot reject these changes. He says, everyone must come to the table. And the whole point was, we're past the point of talking about, yeah, we need a global standard. He's saying we're past that. Just come to the table and we're going to just iron out the details of what it's going to be like. Like the people, Americans I know totally are against this type of thing. I'm getting fired up just sitting here talking about it with it. And it's just really disturbing. It's really, really disturbing. I really believe this stuff ties into the Bible, and I'm going to go talk about that here at the end. But I just want a couple more points I want to talk about. A bigwig from BP, British Petroleum, jumped on there and says the low oil prices helped open the door to a lot of this. A lot of this being the Green New Deal, you've heard of that, or this green energy and whatnot. And he even said that stimulus, any government stimulus, not just the United States, but any government stimulus, should be attached green energy bills to it, green energy projects rather, to those bills. So they want more wind and solar and all this type of thing. And all that's fine, except when the sun's not out or when the wind's not blowing. All right, so you can only do one thing so much if we all want to live the way we live today. If you want to have your gadgets and power and all that type of stuff, otherwise we can go back to the Stone Age. And none of these people want to do it. All these big mouths basically telling us how we need to live. I don't know why people just can't be happy living their life how they want to. And if you didn't understand the Bible, that would be your argument. But there are evil people in this world. They want to take over the world and have a globalist utopia. And they want to rule it. And they only want 500 million people on the face of the earth, which means 7.2 billion of you got to go. All right, those are their words. I'm not making this stuff up. Go look at the Georgia Guidestones. It's there. Listen to what they're telling you in these quotes. The one guy from China, he says, hey, we can pay people to plant trees, when they're talking about full employment. Yeah, go along the highway and plant trees, and that's your living, And we have landscapers that do that type of thing. So that's their job. But they want to have government-appointed people that do stuff. Because in a communist world, everybody has some sort of job, and they get some kind of pay. That is not an answer. Socialism, communism have never worked. It's been proven over and over and over again. The United States is the greatest nation that has ever existed, and they want to destroy this nation. All these goofballs in the streets, they're tearing down our country in these Democrat-controlled cities. They are so upset about our way of life, the greatest way of life, that they want to destroy it so we can have some socialist utopia. It doesn't make any sense. If all these people hate it so much, then they should leave. And the main thing that they talked about is equality for all. That goes equality for all except for Christians. Okay? And as you can see, because anything that's Christian is like the enemy nowadays, And Klaus got back on to kind of close up their little meeting there and said, we need to have a change of mindset and not just a policy change. So their whole point is, we're not talking about tweaking policies, little things like that. A reset. It means changing everything. Everything that you know and enjoy about your life or the world around you, that's what they want to do. They want to change that. And this great reset thing that they're working on is not just, that was just a one-time video thing. This is going to keep going on. Those Davos meetings they have in Switzerland every year? Well, in January 2021, that's where we're going to have the next one, and they're going to be pushing the Global Reset Initiative, as they called it. Okay, so we got that. That's their words and everything, okay? That's their words. That's what they want. And where have you read something about globalization, a global utopia for the whole world? Okay, they're basically trying to resurrect. You heard about the Tower of Babel and this sort of thing. That is what they're going after, all right? In Revelation 13, you can read about, I'll just read you one verse, okay? I'll just read you one verse. You just bear with me for a second. Revelation 13. All this stuff ties in the Bible. If you have a problem with the Bible, I guess just go ahead and turn off the video right now, okay? Because I'm going to read it. So verse 1, and I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. Now this ties right into Revelation 17, where we're going to go in just a second. But now this beast comes up out of the sea. It's a global government. All right, it's a global government. It has 7 heads, which are governments that have basically ruled over the globe at one point in time. And then these 10 horns, these are actually going to belong to supernatural entities who will appear when the false Messiah appears. That's Satan before Jesus Christ, okay? And these 10 crowns are symbolic of kings. So those 10 horns are the kings. Now we roll over here to Revelation 17. I think I wanted to cover verses 10, through 12. So let me read this to you, and I'll explain some of what I just talked about. Verse 10, and there are 7 kings. That's what we just read about in Revelation 13:1, okay? 5 are fallen. 5 of those kingdoms are fallen. They don't exist anymore. That means they existed at one time throughout time. You have Babylon, Greece, Rome. Okay, those are some of those kingdoms, what we're talking about. And it says 5 are fallen, so they don't exist. And 1 is. So we can count to 7, right? If 5 have fallen and 1 exists now, that'd be the 6. So the 6th kingdom exists now. All right, the 6th kingdom is a part of the global structure that old Klaus was talking about that was established in the 1940s. I personally believe the 6th kingdom existed before that. Think of the League of Nations in the early 1900s and other global outfits. So this 6th kingdom has been around for quite a while, I believe. And what they're trying to do is bring it to a head, if you will, bring it to realization where the 6th kingdom is actually ruling over the entire world. That's what the 6th kingdom is here, is a globalized world. And the other kingdom is not yet come. That's Satan's kingdom. That's the 7th kingdom. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. The short space is the tribulation, okay? It was supposed to be 7 years, and Jesus said it was shortened. In the book of Revelation, it says it was shortened down to 5 months. Verse 11, and the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th. So this beast that was, it means in the world that was. Okay, it was a time before. So when you read Genesis 1:1 and then verse 2, and it says, and the world was without form and all that, it means it became without form. That's really what this verse is tying into. We have a study on it. It'll help you out. It's titled The World That Was. So this beast that was, he existed before, and he's not now. Satan's not on earth now. He doesn't have any kingdom right now. He's the 8th. So not only is Satan the 7th kingdom that is future to us today, but he's the 8th. The 8 will be actuality when the millennium takes place, at the end of the millennium, I should say, when Satan is released out of that pit after a 1,000-year period. And he's of the 7th, see? And he goes in perdition. Perdition is death. So he'll reign for a little while at that 8th kingdom, which is far away from us now. We don't really have to worry about that one. But that's what this beast is and where it's all going and everything, okay? Verse 12, and the 10 horns, remember those horns? Which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. So they show up with Satan. It's his supernatural, they're angels, okay? But they're bad angels. So they're supernatural, and they'll appear with Satan when he's cast from heaven to earth by Michael. Revelation 12, verse 7 through 9 will help you out with that stuff. So, I mean, that's where all this is going. I really, truly believe that. I don't see anywhere else this could be going, because if all this keeps up and we go towards some globalized world, I mean, it's going to radically change our world beyond what it already has been. And it seems to me that it would be the fulfillment of Bible prophecy, all the things that we kind of talked about there. I know that was a quick hit. It's mainly because I really wanted to talk about this great reset that they're pushing. But it's all that stuff is going to this. And when you're talking about these politics and stuff like this with people and your friends, I mean, if everybody's leaving the Bible out of it, you're not going to understand why it's happening. I mean, Ephesians chapter 6 says we wrestle not against flesh and blood, right? But we wrestle against, spiritual powers in high places. Satan's in a high place, all right? His children are here on earth. Jesus talked about him. Revelation 2:9 and 3:9, he talked about the synagogue of Satan. I mean, this is not hard. You just have to take the time to open the book and read it. Our world is not becoming better. And all those notes that I read you, not one time did they ever mention God. Not one time. And if any religious leaders come on and they're going to be a part of this whole new globalization thing too, but I guarantee you they're going to distort the Word of God like so many of the major denominations do today. And so, I mean, this stuff, you're supposed to watch the events of our world. That's what Jesus told us. He says, watch, see how it goes down. I told you in the book, everything you need to know. So as Christians, that's what we're supposed to do. Look at the sign of the times, look at the book. And so I hope this has helped you out. You might want to check that link out to the Great Reset I told you about. And thank you so much for watching.